We call this a get-right game in the NFL, and if you're the Minnesota Vikings, you absolutely have to look at it like a get-right game in the National Football League. As you approach this one, how do you approach this? The Vikings very well could be a 4-0 football team. Very well could be 4-0 as they come into Detroit. This is a situation where on that side of the football, you have got to come in and be able to bury these guys, or at least that's the mindset you have to have if you're the Vikings. Braylon, talk to me about these, what we on the outside look at as gimme games. For the Vikings, I see this as a gimme game for them.
Well, there's no such thing as a gimme game in the NFL, but what the closest thing to it is, if you're a good football team, then do what you have been doing. Look at the opponent as an opponent. Don't take it for granted that you're playing the Detroit Lions that haven't, necessarily gotten it together yet this season. You got to go in here and do what's been working for you. You've been passing the ball with Kirk Cousins. The 3 games that Dalvin Cook has played in, he's had some yards. He hasn't necessarily looked like himself of old, which is another nervous thing for the Detroit Lions, because Dalvin really hasn't even gotten it going yet. So you just come in, you got to play good football, because the Lions are in a situation where they don't have anything to lose. They're coming into games just trying to claw, scrap to get a win, and they're going to do everything possible. Look for some trick plays from Dan Campbell and his Detroit Lions team. If I'm the Vikings, I know that I'm a better team, and I just go in here, execute, I do what I'm supposed to do, and win the game. For the Lions, on the other hand, you got to find a way, man. Get some consistency. You've been turning the ball over. Try to run the ball. Just run the ball. The Vikings defense is vulnerable in that front. They don't have the same D-line that they once had with Linval Joseph and Everson Griffin, a couple years ago. So run at them. That's the way you protect the ball. Run the ball with Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift and go from there.
All right, let's do it right now. He is a analyst for the Minnesota Vikings, former member of the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, and a Detroit native, most importantly. Mr. Ron Johnson joins us on the program. How you doing, Ron?
I'm good. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're good.
Okay. I'm good.
What up, though?
Nothing much, man. Just living life.
It's good. Big brother, man. This is the reason why I wore 3 my senior year in high school. When Ron went to Minnesota, he was wearing 3, so I said, well, I'm wearing 3 too.
That's the way to do it. Hey, Ron, set me up for this one, because we here in Detroit, I just called this game, and of course there's no such thing in the NFL, but I just called this game a gimme game for the Minnesota Vikings. As we sit here looking at all the injuries for the Detroit Lions and just where they are as a franchise, I just don't see how they have any opportunity to beat the Vikings this week. What do the Vikings have to do to get right and to really just pound Detroit and move on to the next week?
Yeah, well, for the most part, for the Vikings, is they can't let the Lions dictate what's going on. And so you look at Evan Brown, I think. You have a young center. You have to make sure with that young center that he cannot get active. He has to be confused. He has to let the crowd get to him. And, Kirk Cousins just can't turn the ball over. If Kirk Cousins doesn't turn the ball over, the Vikings defense has been playing pretty well. They should be able to win this game easily.
Hey, speaking of Kirk Cousins, 3 years ago, he leads them to the NFC Championship. They would eventually lose to the Eagles. When they paid him, what was the feeling in Minnesota about him being there? Was he the piece? Did you guys believe in him to be the missing piece? And with that, how was that happen 3 years later? What's that feeling now?
That's a loaded question, man.
It is.
Kirk Cousins has a love-hate relationship with Minnesota, with the media. Personally, I think he's a good quarterback. I think he does the necessary things to win games. Kirk Cousins' biggest flaw is that he struggles to take risks. He doesn't throw in a double coverage. He doesn't like to throw in the tight windows. And I think that's going to always kind of hold Kirk Cousins back.
Nice.
Talking to Ron Johnson, native Detroiter, Vikings analyst, and of course former wide receiver, if that name sounds familiar, former wide receiver for the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Ron, when you look at this NFC, We talk about, and Tom Mazaway over here believes the Vikings very well could be 4-0. He thinks they're a much better team than their record says they are.
Definitely.
How does that team get back into this race? There's, you look at Stafford in the Rams, Brady in the Bucks, Aaron Rodgers in the Packers,
Kyler in the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cardinals. Where does Minnesota fit? Dallas is good. This is a loaded NFC right now. Where does Minnesota kind of fit in there? How do they get back in this?
I don't know. They have to help other teams lose. I mean, to be honest, you don't ever want to be in this position where you need other teams to help you get into the playoffs. But that's what the Vikings are right now. I mean, they have to beat the Bears twice. They have to try to beat the Packers. And they have to beat the Lions. And then hope that other teams can help them out by getting that 7th or 6th spot for the wild card. But it's going to be tough to top the Packers right now because they're letting them get so far ahead of them. And the Bears aren't bad. They're just not good. And so that's where the Vikings fall. But the Cardinals jumping out, being undefeated, that's tough. The Rams are looking good. So it's going to be a tough stretch for them. I mean, who knew Dallas would be what they are? So it's going to be a tough stretch for them.
I did call it.
He did call it.
For the Vikings to get back in it.
Hey, Ron, I got something for you. Mike Zimmer, every time I look at him, I feel sorry for him because of all the kicking woes that he's had to go through. I mean, have they gotten it right yet? Who's this Joseph guy? Is he sticking around? I mean, you need a kicker for crying out loud, and they have not been able to find one.
Yeah, well, if you go back to Daniel Carlson last year, 2 years ago, I think it was last year. No, 2 years ago, he was pretty good. He had a bad Packers game where he missed like 4 field goals. Zimmer treated him bad, got him out of here. You look at Kai Forbath. He never really believed in him. You look all the way back to Blair. Blair Walsh.
Against the Seahawks.
Correct. And so with this new kicker, Mike Zimmer has learned, and he said this. He said, the kid missed kicks. People have missed kicks before. Let's take it easy on them. That might be the answer, taking it easy on the kid, because as a kicker, you have to be comfortable. It's like a golfer. You have to be comfortable with your swing. You have to be comfortable with that swing leg. It seems like Greg Joseph have gotten comfortable. He knows his team's behind him. He knows his coach is going to trust him. So maybe Mike Zimmer has figured it out and not being hard on the kicker and just letting them be.
How'd they score only 7 points last week? They took the lead 7-0.
Opening
and
drive,
and then
right?
That's it. I mean, the Browns are good, but are they really that good?
The Browns are good. I mean, Myles Garrett is really good. I think Rashad Hill playing left tackle is not the answer right now. He struggled to stand up. He struggled to stay upright. The problem with the Vikings offense, I think it got a little stagnant. There was not a lot of motion and shifting. It was kind of come up to the line of scrimmage. We know we can beat them, and it didn't happen. Stefanski knows Kirk Cousins. He was with Kirk Cousins the whole time. And when you know a quarterback, you know where the bones are buried. You know what he's scared of. And he did the things pre-snap, I think, to kind of make Kirk Cousins second-guess everything.
Talking to my big brother Ron Johnson, Detroit King. I see the helmet in the background, big guy.
That's awesome.
Hey, let's looking at that Minnesota in the background, the Golden Gophers. Let's transition for a second. Talk to me about and also you do the PJ Flex show. Talk to me about the Minnesota Golden Gophers right now, because what I see from them, they just look a little inconsistent. You see the start against Ohio State, and they look really good at parts in that game, and had a chance to win early in that fourth quarter. And then you see the loss 2 weeks ago to Bowling Green. Just talk to me about the roller coaster ride that is the 2021 season for the Golden Gophers.
Yeah, so Mike Sanford Jr. being the new offensive coordinator, he's had the luxury in the past of Rashad Bateman. And then you go before that, Kirk Shiraka. He had Tyler Johnson, Rashad Bateman, running backs. Now with Mo Ibrahim going out, Trey Potts is now hurt. He's having to manufacture offensive production, and I don't know if he can do it. The Bowling Green game, the thought was it's an easy win, let's not do too much. But the problem is the minute that it doesn't go your way, you have to open the playbook up, and they didn't do it, and that's why they lost. Purdue looks like they got it figured out a little bit, but they have to open up the playbook. They have to let Tanner Morgan be what Tanner Morgan was for the past 2 years. You can't make him one-dimensional. You can't force him into third longs because you're running the ball on first and second down. And they did. They went vertical against Purdue. Michael Brown-Stevens, John Legend's nephew, had a great game. But they're going to have to do more of that.
sticking with the Big Ten, what do you make of the Big Ten right now? You have Iowa and Penn State playing this Saturday, both undefeated, ranked 4 and 5. You have Michigan and Michigan State, both undefeated, and you have Ohio State's offense is pretty good, and they're 5 and 1, I believe. What do you think about the Big Ten? Who do you think is the best team, and who do you think might win the Big Ten? Take it off.
It's tough. I'm always going to lean towards Ohio State because I feel like they have that it factor at the end of the season.
Right.
C.J. Stroud, being a young quarterback, hasn't got much time. He had to figure it out early. Oregon, throw that out the door. But if you look at Penn State and Iowa, it's intriguing because the winner of that game this weekend is going to be in the college football playoff. And so that's going to be the key for one of these two teams. I think two teams can get in. I think Ohio State being a one-loss team and either Iowa or Penn State being a one-loss team, the committee is probably going to try to get Ohio State in there at number 4. So that's kind of my take. It's the winner of these two, and then I always go back to Ohio State. I think they're good.
Ron, it's funny you say that.
I knew you were about to say that.
Because I think this is one of those interesting years in college football that will highlight why there needs to be an expansion in the playoffs. Because I think Alabama and Georgia are an automatic 1 and 2 in there, however that plays out. And then, as you just mentioned, I don't know how you keep there's 5 Big Ten teams in the top 11 right now. You try to go through that gauntlet. So if there's 2 in the SEC and 2 in the Big Ten, where does that leave an unbeaten Cincinnati team?
Not to mention Iowa doesn't play anybody after this Penn State game. They don't play anybody.
Where does that leave in Oklahoma? Probably going to have 1 loss because they luck themselves into at least 1 loss every year. I mean, isn't this going to be a season that highlights the need for an expanded playoff?
Yeah, 100%. I've been saying that for the longest, that they have to have 8 to 12 teams in this playoff because every year we're getting the Cincinnati stories, the Boise State, even back to them. You got to give those guys a chance to play Alabama and just see what happens. Maybe they beat them, maybe they don't, but at least there's no question marks.
Hey, our guys here kind of think Michigan has a chance to go unbeaten this time and have a chance to beat Ohio State. What do you think of the Wolverines 5 weeks in?
So the Wolverines with Ronnie Bell, I would say yes. Without Ronnie Bell, I think teams like Ohio State, they have good cornerbacks. They're going to get tested. And I don't know if Harbaugh, for some reason, he hasn't gotten over the hump. Like it's always like he's right there and then something happens. I think as a Michigan kid, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
How about the other side of Michigan, Michigan State? They're looking good. Mel Tucker's done a hell of a job. He came in, used that transfer portal to perfection. He's got them competing. What do you think their record is at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think Michigan State's going to falter, but I did pick them to beat Miami, so I was glad that happened. Again, Mel Tucker is the reason why I agree with hiring coaches that fit the demographic of the area. Mel Tucker's doing a great job of getting recruits in the door. He's doing a great job of getting along with these kids. Yes, Michigan State already had something built before, but I think he's doing a good job of turning it back around and getting these guys in there. I think they're going to lose 2 games, though.
Okay.
Before we let you go, Ron, I'm going to ask you one question. This has nothing to do with football now. It says when we played.
Okay.
What do you miss most about playing football? I asked Spice the same thing, and he had the same answer I had. What do you miss most about football? It could be any level, NFL or NCAA.
Why didn't you ask me that?
Shut up, Ron. You shut up.
Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, what do you miss about it?
Man, I'm telling you, Ron,
misses.
you should have seen me. I never came out of the game at Grosse Pointe South High School. 4 years varsity.
Would you stop embarrassing us? Stop embarrassing us, man. This is a professional situation.
He had a single bar face mask.
Yeah, they're looking like Ray Finkel.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would say I miss the locker room friendships, the conversations, the jokes. But I definitely miss strapping on the helmet every Saturday, Sunday, going out there because it's just mentally getting into it. I don't miss training camp though. I don't.
No.
I don't miss that grind of 2-a-days and all that stuff. But I do miss the friendships because it's just a different bond on a football team in a locker room, regardless of what's going on in the world, regardless of who the president is. A lot of times that locker room was like a place of serenity and just calm and you blur out the outside world.
Hey, Ron, I know you do a show with PJ Fleck, so he's rowing the boat right now. Is he going to row the boat all the way to the West Coast to USC?
Well, the good thing is they lost to Bowling Green, so I think USC took him out of the. That was the best thing for us. USC took him out of that. But you know what? Like PJ's put so much in to row the boat here with like the Children's Hospital, a lot of the other things. He has it good here. He's doing a good job recruiting. But honestly, like if your coach is not wanted by another school, then you don't have a good coach. And so it speaks to the volumes of what PJ Fleck's been able to build and the culture he's built where other people are seeing it.
Awesome.
That is an awesome take.
Yep.
There's no doubt
it
about
is.
that. And
Both
there
his
was
takes, the one about Mel Tucker and the one about
there was
PJ Fleck.
there was a time when everybody wanted Jim Harbaugh. I'm not sure that time is. But hey, it's all good.
My lips are sealed.
Ron, we cannot thank you enough for your time here on Woodward Sports. We really appreciate you doing it, and hopefully when the Lions and Vikings do round 2, we can do that that week as well.
Definitely. Oh yeah, for sure.
Ron, appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, Ron Johnson, Minnesota Vikings analyst, and of course former Minnesota Golden Gophers wide receiver, Detroit native.
Played for the Ravens.
Played for the Ravens.
Bleacher Report has him number 14 all time in terms of Big Ten wide receivers.
Can you believe
Wow.
that? Yeah, how about
14 all
that?
time. That's
Unreal.
ahead of Chris Carter.
Whoa.
Ahead of Chris Carter. I knew you would like that one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So there you have it. We'll put a bow on Lions and Vikings for now, guys. There is NFL tonight. Want to get to that. And a big wager was placed on the Minnesota Vikings this week, actually.